again, your arms, they're hanging quite low, and then if we talk about in an endurance event, the further that goes, the heavier your arms are going to get, the further they're going to drag you forward, and then as your weight starts to hover down, it's going to be every step you take is we need even more energy to bring you back up from that next step. So yeah, an instant change is lifting the arms up, and it's amazing how high you actually have to get them for them to actually become up. You feel like you're almost running with your hand in your mouth, but that's what we want to see. Okay. You've got a bit of natural energy on the ground, so we see you're sort of hopping along here with 2 feet off the ground, which is good. Probably heel striking a little bit, we'll be able to tell if that's detrimental from the side on view. But one thing that's important to note, and it's just a little bit about how valuable it is for us to have a good shell when we run. If we talk about running as having 2 categories, one is a tempo runner, 2 is a depth runner. Tempo runner has a good cadence, just high turnover, and it's sort of tap, 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 tap. Whereas a depth runner, they rely on force on the ground, and it's boom, 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 boom. The way that you're running here would put you more in the depth category, where you're sort of springing up off the ground and then loading up again for the next one. In a triathlon, if you've had a hard bike ride and you lose the ability to have that depth on the ground, you're not really left with much, because you don't have the same shell that a tempo runner would have. So in triathlon, it's really important that whichever category you naturally are, we need to be able to develop the tempo side of things, so that if we take the energy out of you, whether it be food flat or just muscular fatigue, but you're still compact enough to hold it together. Okay.
What's the basis of how do you go from that
one to the other?
Yeah. Multiple steps? Or?
It is. We're going to talk about just that shell of running today. In those exercises, basically they're just to build you as a shell, and then it's almost like you flip the switch between the two, where a tempo runner is just concentrating on not having their energy spill into the ground and just sort of propping from side to side, just a high turnover. It's almost like riding in a small chainring on the bike. So
I don't know if it's the same thing, but I've always thought I'm a heel striker. But all the best runners that I know are so light on their feet and so much more a toe runner. And I don't know how to do that, and I'm concerned if I've tried it once and I started to feel like I was going to get injured, so I just went back to what was more natural. Yeah. But,
so yeah, I'm not an advocate for heel striking or forefoot running. I think everyone's going to have a different natural sort of landing pattern, but really ideally you'll just be driving off the midfoot. So that sort of that hot spot when you hit the ground, it's going to be the midfoot, probably similar to where you hold the cleats. Just have a look at there. Yeah, so your first impact on the ground is probably there, and it is just out in front of the body a little bit again, and you just see what that does is you just tend to sit back a little bit. So right there, you're not really getting access to the posterior chain because you're landing out front. First impact is a braking force, and then really the power phase is still underneath and behind the body, but everything's just sort of from there to there versus here to here. That's the sort of difference between when we land, hit the ground and come back to there, versus sort of hit the ground and go back to there. So it'd be interesting to see that when you try and run faster, does this become more of a heel strike out the front? Do we tend to overstride, and then is there, for increased effort, are we getting increased braking force? And what I'd predict is that without this really strong connection here and the ability to use the posterior chain, is yes, it probably does happen. Okay. But then, yeah, just again for you, the arms sitting down low, I think that's a bit of a difference between you having that tall upright position, which is, that's not the best one, but yeah, really exaggerating that press from the chest, versus having that sort of the hips sit back that little bit. So yeah, I think as we go through these drills this afternoon, we want to just try and lift you up. Yeah, and then you'll be more comfortable landing underneath the body and pressing back. And whether that keeps you striking on the heel or brings it closer to the midfoot, yeah, perhaps we'll wait and see. Yeah.